In this video, we're going to chop broccoli and cauliflower, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to remove the broccoli florets and also to prepare the stems to use in different dishes. We'll start with broccoli. With both of these plants, they're called cruciferous vegetables. They grow kind of on a stalk, and they have these individual florets. You can just break the florets off. If you cut through them, it's going to leave all these little bits of green around. So one way to just process the broccoli first is to either use your paring knife with the cutting away from yourself, cutting off the individual florets until you get to kind of the larger crown. You could also use kitchen shears to snip these individually. We'll set the stalk off to the side. There's a lot of usable vegetable matter there, so we're not going to abandon that. So now that we've gotten down to kind of where this floret is smaller and they're more joined, what you want to do is use your paring knife or your chef's knife to cut the floret at the base and then just pull that apart with your hands. So that way you're not cutting through the flowers and creating that mess. You can just break those into pieces. If you have a floret, individual floret that's a little larger than you want, again, you're just going to cut the stem, break it in half. So you can make these as large or as small you want. You may want them to be more bite-sized. You could cut off extra stem if you didn't want that to be attached. For a stir fry that we're going to do, usually you want a little bit bite-sized or a little bit larger. We'll go ahead and process this other one a little faster. You can also just kind of on the cutting board chop the whole head off. These florets are larger, so I probably am going to at least cut these in half, if not quarters. This is also a great way to prepare broccoli if you're going to roast it. Just break it down into the florets. Set those off to the side. For the stems, you can either use a vegetable peeler or your paring or chef's knife to trim it down to where you get to a nice green flesh. You kind of get that woody flesh off of there. And then you can chop this into cubes. And we always want a flat surface on our cutting board. Or strips. These strips will be good in the stir fry, just like the broccoli florets. If you dice them, you can throw them in a salad or a soup. Add some interesting texture. You can also do what's called julienne. I'll show you with the chef's knife, where we're going to make kind of matchsticks or long strips. So you can see that I'm making very fine cuts, getting thin strips off of that stalk. You can actually cut these in half as well. So that's going to make a very fine, if you wanted it to be in like a broccoli slaw or something like that, you could chop it like this and then make those pieces smaller. So those are a couple different ways to process the stems. You would do the same thing, cutting off these smaller pieces and dicing those other stems. Cauliflower is very similarly processed. When you get cauliflower at the store, it's going to come usually wrapped in plastic with the leaves still attached. If you're going to store it for a while, you want to make sure that you store it the stem side down, and that keeps the condensation that might accumulate in that plastic down at the base of the stem, and it's not going to mold the top of your cauliflower. Cauliflower and broccoli will keep for a while in the fridge, especially wrapped in a paper towel and in a plastic bag. If you've had your cauliflower for a while, I actually bought mine earlier this week, you might have some little black or brown spots. Those are not, going to hurt you. You just kind of trim them off, get rid of them, but the rest of the cauliflower will be edible, so don't worry about that. And I've rinsed this cauliflower to start, and I rinsed the broccoli earlier as well. So to process the cauliflower, you're going to come to the stem end and start just breaking off, or you can cut off with your knife these leaves. You might find some more dirt hiding in there, that's okay. The outer leaves are pretty tough. The inner leaves can actually be cooked and sauteed in a stir fry. Would be a nice addition to a dish. When I get down in here, I'm going to go ahead and cut that away just so it's out of our way. This part, probably not a lot worth processing in there, although you could cut down to this inner core and chop it or julienne it just like we did with the broccoli. I'm going to go ahead and cut around the remaining leaves. These leaves on the inside would be the ones that I would save potentially to put in your stir fry. They don't look too ratty. So something like this would be a nice addition, sliced up. All of these guys. Now that you can see the base of the cauliflower more closely, we're just, like we did with the broccoli, going to separate out one floret at a time around the stem. So just kind of work around the stem, and that cauliflower floret's going to come out like that. Again, we will process these down to a smaller size. I'm going to just kind of work my paring knife around the whole base and remove them. If you get a bigger chunk like this, that's okay. We're just going to pop them off one at a time. And again, anytime you want to make into a smaller floret, use your paring knife to cut between the actual florets and then pull apart by hand. That will keep all those pieces together, keep you from having lots of little chunks around. So again, these can be as big or as small as you want. For sauteing and stir frying, you're going to want them to be about bite size. If you're roasting, they can be a bit bigger, although they will cook more evenly if all the florets are about the same size. And again, you can just cut down that stem and pop them apart. A different way to prepare cauliflower is in what's called steaks. And I will go ahead and cut this stem off, and this can be diced up similar to the broccoli stem. Cauliflower steak is just going to be a larger slice where you're going to include, sorry, I had already cut through that one, but include a larger slice of the cauliflower. This can be roasted or grilled and is a really nice way to have some of your vegetable. You can season them, so that's another way to prepare cauliflower and broccoli.